Hi, this is Christian, and welcome back to NFL Updates Express, your weekly dose of NFL news. Coming your way, Divisional Round game predictions. In the first playoff game of the Divisional Round, it's a 6-seeded Falcons taking on the number 1-seeded Philadelphia Eagles. Now the Eagles, well, in my opinion, I think they're in trouble. Nick Foles has not been playing as well as Eagles fans and Doug Peterson, the head coach, had hoped when Carson Wentz went down with a huge ACL tear, which pretty much ended the Eagles' Super Bowl hopes in my opinion. But they're not over yet, and although I might be counting them out, the Eagles certainly are not counting themselves out. They have a very balanced team. Their defense is pretty strong outside of maybe a couple outliers this year. And, their offense has other pieces besides the quarterback that can get them to the promised land, the Super Bowl. Of course, they have Alshon Jeffrey, who could be a big play threat against this Falcons defense. And they have two great running backs in Jay Ajayi, who, in my opinion, I think they need to get him the ball more. And LeGarrette Blount, who's a big bulldozer and can be a big factor, especially if it's raining in Philadelphia this weekend. And for the Falcons, well, we already know about their offense. Matt Ryan, Devonta Freeman, Tevin Coleman, Julio Jones. But I think the big story of this playoffs, starting in Week 17 actually, is their defense. After forcing 3 turnovers in Week 17, they had another great performance, and although they didn't force any turnovers against Goff, they played a great game holding this dynamic Rams offense to 13 points. And so I think that's the big story. If the Falcons can have a similar performance against Nick Foles in this offense, or we could be seeing the Falcons in the NFC Championship game. So who will I be picking in this one? Well, I think the Eagles are going to keep it close. They're at home, and Matt Ryan has struggled in Philadelphia, surprisingly. But I'm going to take the 6-seeded Falcons to continue their run towards redemption and make it to the NFC Championship game. It's the nightcap on Saturday night as the Tennessee Titans, the 5th seed, take on the number 1-seeded New England Patriots. Now for the Titans, they just came out of the wild card round with a monumental upset over the Kansas City Chiefs, and I know the Chiefs have had some pretty devastating losses in the postseason early with Andy Reid's squads, but this is a huge win for the Titans that hadn't won a playoff game in 15 years. The Titans, Marcus Mariota had a huge game, and so did Derrick Henry. In fact, Mariota threw a touchdown to himself. Now, it was batted down by Darrelle Revis and into the arms of Mariota for the touchdown, but it was still an important play that helped the Tennessee Titans get a huge upset. And to upset New England and shock everybody, well, they'll need a lot of Mariota, a lot of Delaney Walker, and a lot of Derrick Henry. And if they can also get DeMarco Murray back in the rushing game, then who knows? Tennessee could keep this interesting. But we already know the New England Patriots are so tough to beat at Gillette. Now, the Patriots have lost 2 games at home this year to the Panthers and Chiefs, 2 playoff teams. And Tennessee, well, they beat the Chiefs, so who knows what we could see there. Now, I do think that New England is going to ultimately win this game, but I think it will be a lot closer than people expect. Tennessee, especially, it could be some inclement weather in New England, and they can run the football, as we've seen, very well. Mariota, Henry, Murray, all on the ground, and the Patriots, well, if Brady's struggling through the air like he did in last year's divisional game against the Texans, then who knows, Tennessee could keep this interesting for a while. However, when it's all said and done, I'm going to take the New England Patriots to get the job done at home. In the first game on Sunday afternoon, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I honestly think the Steelers are on upset alert in this game. Now, we already know the Jaguars destroyed the Steelers at Heinz earlier in the year, which, honestly, in my opinion, it would catapulted Jacksonville's season to where they are now in the divisional round. A start that really no one expected the Jaguars to go on. They just expected them maybe to be at best an 8-18 this year, but a lot of people had them, including myself, at the bottom of the NFL. So I'm really surprised on how well Blake Bortles has been playing, And also the Jaguars defense. Honestly, in my opinion, they're the best defense in the league along with the Minnesota Vikings. So, I mean, it will be a tough game for the Steelers. The Steelers, of course, are going to be getting Antonio Brown back, and that will be huge for their offense. Now, even if Brown wasn't playing, I still think the Steelers could pull this out with Martavis Bryant, Le'Veon Bell, and of course Ben Roethlisberger playing at a great high level. Now, the Jaguars, for them to win, Blake Bortles cannot play the way he did against the Buffalo Bills. It's as simple as that. If he's rushing for more than he's passing in terms of yardage, the Jaguars are going to get blown out of the stadium. I don't care how they played earlier in the year against the Steelers, unless they can manage to get 5 interceptions off of Roethlisberger again, which I seriously doubt will happen, then, I mean, it's just going to be a tough game for Jaguars fans. But ultimately, I think the Jags are going to keep it close. Blake Bortles, I think, will be improved. But ultimately, at home, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to get the job done. In the last playoff matchup, it's the New Orleans Saints, the 4 seed, taking on the 2 seed Minnesota Vikings. Now the Vikings, they've been on bye for the last 2 weeks, and they're getting ready to face a Saints team that is very dangerous on the ground and through the air. And for New Orleans, this has been one of their most balanced attacks since the Super Bowl season with Reggie Bush, and of course Drew Brees passing to any target he chooses. Drew Brees, I mean, this is one of his favorite seasons, I would say, because not only do the Saints have a great rushing attack with Ingram and Kamara, but he can also turn it on and pass it to Michael Thomas, Ted Ginn Jr., Brandon Coleman, or the tight end Josh Hill, and the Saints can still be successful. And that's really important because a team can't really take away your entire offense. Usually teams that are one-dimensional can either pass the ball or run the ball and not do the other as well. Well, those are the teams that fall out of the playoffs. But the New Orleans Saints, they have the formula to win at all levels and in any place. Now, the Vikings are certainly going to have something to say about that. The Minnesota Vikings, I mean, they can pretty much do the same thing. Case Keenum isn't a household name, but he's shown flashes of being one of the best quarterbacks and even has been in the MVP conversation this year. Of course, they have Jerick McKinnon on the ground, and through the air, they have Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. Now, who will win this game? Well, I think the Vikings defense, they're the best in the NFL in my opinion, along with Jacksonville. And, I mean, defense wins championships in my opinion. And although Drew Brees has been playing extremely well, I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings at home to advance to the NFC Championship. For the wild card recap, well, the first game, it was a big upset as the Tennessee Titans overcame an 18-point halftime deficit in order to defeat the Kansas City Chiefs 22-21. Some of the big performers included Travis Kelce, Alex Smith for the Chiefs, and then on Tennessee, we had Delaney Walker, Derrick Henry, and Marcus Mariota. For the next game, on Saturday, it was a primetime matchup between the Falcons and the Rams, with the Falcons coming out on top 26-13. Some big performers included Cooper Kupp with a big touchdown in the first half, and also Jared Goff. He had a pretty decent game, had to get some nerves out early, but he performed well enough to keep the Rams in it. And of course for the Falcons, Matt Ryan with a 300-plus yard day. And I honestly give it to the whole defense of the Falcons, shutting down the highest scoring team in the league to just 13 points. Going into Sunday's game, we have the Jaguars and the Bills. And the Jaguars, well, they edged it out. It was 10-3, kind of a boring game, but the big story here, the Jaguars defense continues to show why they can make a Super Bowl push. The players in this one, well, I'll give it to Tyrod for battling it out despite taking the concussion. He gave it all he got, but the Bills just simply weren't ready for prime time. And for the Jacksonville Jaguars, how about we give it to Ben Koyak, who caught the only touchdown of this game, a guy that hadn't had a touchdown this entire season, and makes a big play there to give Jacksonville their first playoff win in quite some time. And then the final game of the afternoon, it was the Panthers and the Saints in one of the most exciting wildcard games in a couple years. and it was the Saints edging out the Panthers 31-26 as Drew Brees and Michael Thomas had a great game. Also battled back was Cam Newton, Christian McCaffrey, and Greg Olsen. Ultimately, the Saints at home were just too much for the Panthers to handle, and it was just a fantastic game and fantastic weekend to watch. My record prediction for Wild Card Weekend was 2-2, and Dylan's was 3-1.